just a quick overview of the story so far. The Shemona Esrei is the centerpiece of the God-man relationship. In other words, when you take 3 steps, as we've explained in the past, you're going through station 9 3/4, and you're coming out into a magical world where HaKadosh Baruch Hu can literally do whatever you ask him for. And this is the way he runs his world. The world is basically run through the laws of nature, but we can ask Hashem to interfere. So he purposely makes our lives a little bit crazy. So every person in this room, think about your life, and you'll recognize your life is not normal, right? Everyone has a crazy life. Why? Because Hashem wants to keep you close. The moment that your life is normal, that's the moment you become one of 2 things, either an angel or an animal. They have boring, anxiety-free lives. Nothing ever happens. But the rest of us, humanity, Hashem, makes our lives helter-skelters, roller coasters. It's always something coming up. There's always something going on because Hashem wants us to take those 3 steps and to talk to him. That's the way he runs his world. So once upon a time, we used to talk to Hashem the same way that I'm talking to you. But that changed just over 2,000 years ago when the rabbis realized we need something formal. So they got together and they wrote these 18, which became 19 blessings. And each blessing has got layers upon layers upon layers of Kabbalistic innuendos on every single word. But what you and I are trying to do, and this is the purpose of my classes, is to try and make those words talk to us. We're trying to make them relatable to. So the challenge of the davener, the challenge of the person when you take your 3 steps is to look at these ancient words and say, "Maze kashur elai?" What's it got to do with me? How do I fit into this story? So again, what are 19 blessings? 19 blessings are broken down to 3 parts. The first 3, the middle 13, and the last 3. The first 3 are called what? Anyone remember? What are the first 3 all about? Prayer, praising Hashem. So we praise Hashem through the lenses of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. The first praise is what we call the praising of roots, the foundations of the relationship. The second is the praise of Yitzchak Avinu, who sees God through the lenses of where the world is going to. So the second bracha is about the world to come, and Tchias HaMesim, and all the other things that we discussed in great detail. And the third is through the lenses of Yaakov Avinu. How high is a Chinaman? How high can a person reach? How high? What is the greatest level that a person can reach? We call that kedusha. So, as I say to everyone before they go back to America, or wherever you're going back to, it's not enough to live a halachic life. You have to live a kadosh life. It's a different way of thinking. It's a different mindset. It's a different set of priorities. So that's the opening praises of Hashem. Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. The last 3, which we've never spoken about in great detail, is Ritzei, Modim, and Sim Shalom. What do they all have in common? They are all called Priya. They're all called. The first 3 are praises. The last 3 are called in Hebrew Hoda'ah, thank yous. So they're all appreciations. They're all after that extraordinary, powerful encounter with Hashem. So then we thank him for listening to us. And thank him because we believe that he will act on us and he will always, always do the best he can to answer our prayers. Then we have the middle 13. The middle 13, we said, are broken down into 2 groupings of 6. And then the 13th one is called Shema Kolenu, which is like a joker in a pack of cards. I spoke about this. I'm going to go back to it a few times and explain that Shema Kolenu, it is preferable not to talk about something in Shema Kolenu that is not printed by a pre-existing rabbi or author, that is something that is formally written. If you want to just talk to Hashem, it's best to be done at the end of the Shemona Esrei. That's the way I always teach you. But the 13th bracha on principle works like a joker in a pack of cards. You can attach anything to it, which is why you'll see there's a prayer. You can daven for your children, or daven for health, or daven for parnasa, for your livelihood, and so on and so forth. Then you got the remaining 12. The 12 are broken down into 2 groupings of 6. The first 6 are personal blessings, and the second group are national blessings. When I say personal, so Judaism does not believe in personal in the classic sense that it's all about me. My personal means myself and the people around me. It's always written in the first person plural. So when you ask Hashem for your personal needs, you say, Rafa'enu, heal us. Because the people around me, how do we say in West Coast people, my entourage. That's it. If you're a star, you come with your entourage. You never go alone. So none of us are alone. We're all part of a family, a community. So that's the first person plural. So those are the first 6. And the last 6 talk about our national needs. Again, I'm going to go over this one more time. The first 6 are our personal needs. They're broken down into 2 groupings of 3. This is all me speaking. You can learn the Shemona Esrei any way you want. But this is the way that I teach it. The first 3 is what I call the essential requests that I want to be myself. So to be yourself, you need to do 3 things. Number 1, you got to think. Number 2, you've got to be focused. And number 3 is you got to fix your past. So to think is atachon la'adam das. Every person has to think. What does it mean to think? To think means that you don't let yourself get sucked in to the stuff that's surrounding you. So people who are only working for their college degrees and day and night all they're thinking about is physics or psychology, they're not thinking. They're not thinking. They're sucked in. It's the Nissel, they're sucked into their small little teeny world that they created for themselves. And they get themselves locked in and they stop thinking about who am I, what my life is all about, where am I going, and so forth. Thinking always means thinking big. It's the Jewish way of thinking. So it's atachein la'adam das, u'mulamad le'enchaneni mi'itcha, dea bina haskel. Haskel means to think in a way that I can impact the world in the way that I'm supposed to. So immediately afterwards you say, Hashivena vin l'sarasecha. So most of us live our lives in the proverbial stuck in stuckies. Remember that class? Stuck in stuckies means instead of going on the highway, you're stuck in a gas station. So gas stations are fun. You can go to the toilet, you can buy trinkets, you can buy coffee, which is enormously important in life. And you can even buy gasoline for your car, but you don't live in a gas station. Most of the planet live in a gas station. In other words, most of the planet, they decided their careers and just recovering from their careers by going on vacation and then going back to their careers and just taking care of their health and maintaining their physicality, that is the centerpiece of their lives. And then when they get old, they suddenly realize that they've really done nothing except reproduce their own species. So Hashivena v'in l'sarasech, kavena malkin lavesech is a plea to stay focused, to be able to stay on the road of life and to see that big picture and to stay on it. And then that third one, slachna, is to deal with all the rubbish, the garbage that we've done in our past. So every person in this room has that little past, that little sack of how do you say? Anna says nicely. We all have, everyone has that little package of none of your business, and that's it. And then we want to get that out of our system. So that third blessing is basically the delete button on our past so we can look to our future. If you look at your life and you think about where your mind wanders to when you're having like one of those days. So you either go into the world of fantasy or you go into the world of stress. That's how we are. And our stresses break down to big 3 areas. So Reina Vanyenu is specifically, you're right, I've never taught this. I have not. Okay. You're okay. Okay. Reina Vanyenu is social stress. Rafa'inu is health stress, including mental health. We're going to talk a lot about that because, unfortunately, I'm very into it. Because so many people that I love suffer from mental health, and I don't think people talk about it enough, especially rabbis need to talk about it more. So we'll talk about it when we get to Rafa'inu. I may give 2 classes in Rafa'inu. And then, finally, Baruch Aleinu, which is about financial stress. This morning, I had the tremendous merit to speak to a huge convention in Binyanei Ha'omah. It's called a support group for female professionals, especially if they're from. So it's called Temech, and there's a huge conference, but I spoke for the Anglos, the English speaking, so it was only 200 people. So it was still incredibly impressive. These are women who, building families, involved in all kinds of things that from society puts you up against, and they're full-time. Some of them are running businesses, some of them are entrepreneurs, some of them are, they're all kinds of traveling a lot, and they come for the support system. It comes with stress. You speak it out in the bracha Baruch Aleinu. Okay, now the next 6. The next 6 are also broken down into two groupings of 3. The next 6 begin with Tekabel Shofar Gadol, which is a call for Jewish unity. Then the restoration of the judges, which is Jewish leadership, Jewish unity, Jewish leadership, and then V'lamashinim is getting rid of the 5th column. Getting rid of the 5th column is the self-hating Jews that are working from behind. So those 3 we're going to talk about. I'll give 3 classes on them. God willing, Binyamin willing, Hidabroot willing. It's going to work out fine. We'll talk about those 3. And then finally, we get to what I want to talk about today. Because the last 2 brachos is Mashiach and Yerushalayim. But right before that, there's a bracha which I argue is the least understood and possibly the most ridiculous and most boring bracha of them all. And that is HaTzaddikim. Did you ever stop and think, what on earth is this bracha all about? It sounds like a shout out for the good guys. That's what it is. Like you're in the middle of the messianic process. These 6 brachos are all about bringing Klal Yisrael to the world of perfection. And right there, in the middle of this process, we suddenly have a special bracha. We say, God, you know those good guys, the righteous people, well, take care of them. And you know those converts, take care of them. And then we throw in Aleinu, and us, take care of us. Like, duh, you're davening. You're talking to Hashem. Of course he wanted to take care of you. Why is there a special blessing where you say, Hashem, take care of me? You've been asking him to take care of you all along. And what is this bracha doing right before Mashiach? And then the bracha gets even weirder on us. Because the bracha says, the simcha kenu, it says, the saint sachatov, give them their reward. Hello, your God. What were you thinking? That he wasn't going to give them their reward? Hashem said, no, actually, I'm not going to reward them. You know what? Let them do good things, and they're going to get nothing. It's just going to be a great joke. They'll get up to heaven, and you think there's Garden of Eden? No, there isn't. It's over with. That's it. So what are you asking him to do? Of course they're going to get reward. So what's this bracha all about? There's obviously something going on over here that comes up right before our requests for Jerusalem and Mashiach. When we're asking for Jerusalem, when we're talking about the Jerusalem that is supposed to be, a Jerusalem which is the capital of the whole world, which is the beacon of light. So everyone can become the person that they were created for, every person on this planet. Remember, Judaism is a universal religion. Jews are a chosen nation, like we said last week. We were chosen to bring out the goodness of all of humanity. So every single corner of this world, even Philly, even the bad neighborhoods, you got to go in there, and Rachel, and you got to fix them and bring them back. So everything is based in Yerushalayim and based on the King Mashiach. So we get that. But what are these people that come beforehand? So I want to make a little observation. If you have a look in history, you'll see that whenever we reach a point in history where we're talking about Mashiach, or we're talking about his ancestors, which is David HaMelech, King David, or his ancestor Yehuda, who was the first stories of Mashiach, are the stories of Judah, the son of Jacob, Yehuda. Whenever you meet their stories, they're always preceded by something unique and special. They never come in a vacuum. There's always a chapter that precedes what's called Mashiach ben David. And in the Kabbalistic writings, it's called Mashiach ben Yosef. Mashiach ben Yosef means Yosef always comes before Yehuda. Shaul always comes before David HaMelech. King Saul comes before King David. And eventually, Mashiach ben Yosef, who my rabbi, Rabbi Shapiro, he used to tell us that it's best to think of him more as a concept than an actual person. It's an idea. You'll see exactly what I mean. It's an idea. It's a mindset rather than actually a historical chapter that has to precede Mashiach ben David. So what exactly am I talking about? So let's go back to the original story. Once upon a time, there were 2 people. Both were vying who's going to be the king. One was Yehuda, Judah. The other was Yosef, Joseph. In fact, they both became kings. The more important king historically is always going to be Yehuda. Yehuda, David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayam. He's the great king of the Jews, comes from the tribe of Yehuda. But always it's preceded by by Yosef. Yosef was the king of the whole world. He was the king of Egypt when Egypt was the superpower. And he paved the way for Yehuda to come in. And who knows what was the very first thing that Yehuda did when he came in? What's the first thing he did? When Yehuda came to Egypt, what's the first thing he did? When that story was over and the whole clash between Yosef and Yehuda had settled down, so then his father sent him back to set up a yeshiva. And with that yeshiva, he set up a Jewish-only enclave called Goshen. So basically, the first thing that he does, he sets up a Torah center and a Torah community. And meanwhile, before that, was Yosef, the king of Egypt. What was Yosef all about? Yosef prepares the world for Jews to come, for Mashiach to come, for Yehuda to come, for King David to come. He does it by entering into a world of darkness and finding light. Have a look for a moment what he did. He went to a place called Egypt. What was Egypt? Egypt at that time then was called Admas B'nei Chom. So Chom literally means heat. It's the heat of anger and the heat of lust and the heat of sensuality. Chom was the lowliest community that had ever existed in mankind. It was, every place that you go to throughout the world, there's always one area where you're not supposed to go to because that's where the lowly people go to. Right? They call it, I don't know, excuse the expression, like a red light district. Right? A red light district is a district where a person with a kippah should not be seen. And a Neve graduate should not be seen. Whatever it is. I know some of you are going to Amsterdam, so you're like, whoa, what's going to be? But you're not supposed to go to these places. Imagine a whole country like that. And you start to realize that's what it was. That's what it was. You go to the British Museum and you see all the pictures of incest that went on with all their royal families, and you get a picture of what kind of a society it was. And it was the lowliest of the low. Yosef went down there. Yosef was not a regular person. He's described as the most handsome male that ever existed. But you have perfection in the male gender. The Midrash brings down stories about how the Egyptian women, when they wanted to take a glimpse of them, and how they used to kill each other almost literally to be able to get a glimpse of his face. So it's like ridiculous. It's like ridiculous what went on over that. I'm embarrassed almost to say over what the Midrashim say, but he was this perfection. Not only was he this perfection, but there was one woman who really thought she could get him. I guess she was the female equivalent, and she was this woman who tried everything she could to seduce him, but he refused to allow himself to be seduced. What did he do? He created a picture of his father in front of him, and that was his anchor to the Torah reality that he knew he belonged to. He never allowed himself to get sucked in on any level into Egyptian culture. No matter how much there was pressure on him, no matter how much he was the center of it, I mean, he was it. He was the it man. He represented Egypt. He was the most powerful man there. He could have had his own reality show. Could have had his own band. He could have what he wanted. He was the it man. He was a genius. He was perfect in every way. Everyone admired him. And no, he remains internally the essential Jew. By the way, he was so incredible that for 210 years, the Jewish people lived in Egypt. For 210 years, the Jewish people lived in Egypt. The rabbis go out of the way to say that the women were gorgeous. The Jewish women were gorgeous. Remember, these were the grandchildren, great-grandchildren of Sarah, who was the most beautiful woman that ever lived, and Rachel. And by the way, it's a big mistake to say that Leah was not beautiful. Leah had sad eyes. She had sad eyes from crying herself to sleep every night. But she remained beautiful. The Imahs were beautiful. Their children, their grandchildren were all beautiful. And the Egyptians could do what they wanted with them. If you have a look at history, you'll know that an occupying nation takes advantage of the females that they're occupying. I don't want to go into detail, but anyone can open up a history book and see what happens. What happens? There was not a single case where an Egyptian took advantage of a female, and the Medrash brings down in the merit of Yosef that held himself. Not a single case out of 210 years. It's a lot of time. Except for one case which was a mistaken identity, and the Torah speaks about it explicitly. There was one exception. But besides that, Yosef, through the power of his conviction that he would not compromise even a drop on his kedusha, on his holiness, he in his merit, for 210 years, the Jewish women, they thrived, and they were able to do what they did, and not a single case of taking advantage of them happened, all on the merit of Yosef HaTzaddik. That's who he was. That was the power of Yosef. Yosef goes into darkness, and he creates this little enclave of light. Nothing can affect him. He's completely plugged into the motherboard, meaning his father and what his father represents, so nothing can affect him. So now I'm getting to my main point. And the rest is the details. The rest is how to read this bracha over here. Yosef has got a name. What's he normally called? You have Moshe Rabbeinu, Aaron HaKohen, David HaMelech, Yosef HaTzaddik. Yosef's called the Tzaddik. The only other person who's called the Tzaddik was his brother Benjamin. Yosef and Binyamin are called the Tzaddikim. They never sin. Unlike Judah, Yehuda, who sins, Reuven sins, Shimon and Levi. You mess with them, they'll just destroy your whole city. They really are out there. But Yosef remains pure. Him and his brother, the children of Rachel, she also keeps her purity. This is the Judaism in their purity is called the tzaddik. The tzaddik is pure not because they don't have the option to sin. Yosef could have sinned like crazy. No one would have known. This was before before we had phones, every time you do something stupid on a plane, so 200 people will stop filming you. It's not like that. In those days, he could have got away with whatever he wanted. No one would have known. No one would have known. And he did not do that, because he was a tzaddik. Tzaddik on the outside and tzaddik on the inside. As a matter of fact, they say about Yosef is that his external beauty was there because deep, deep down, he was the man with the most internal beauty. What does that mean? It says that Jacob, Yaakov, our forefather, Yaakov Avinu, taught all the Kabbalistic secrets that he had learned in the yeshiva Shem Ve'ever during those 14 years. When he secluded himself, he gave them over to Yosef. And the brothers never knew this. That's why the brothers thought that Yosef was a fraud, and they hated him. But Yaakov knew that Yosef was the most secret of the most secret, the most holy of the holiest. His external beauty was totally in sync with his internal hiddenness, this inner world that he managed to build, so that the outer world would not affect him. He was internally, so to speak, plugged into this inner, private, kadosh, holy world that he had built. Nothing else existed. Nothing outside of that existed. So now we can go back and understand why this bracha is so important for us. So I wrote this class in memory of my teacher, Rav Moshe Shapiro. Rav Moshe Shapiro was a man himself who the word Shapiro literally means shufra, means beauty. He had this external beauty. Anyone that saw him, he had this, immediately you looked at him, you knew that you were in the presence of greatness. Wherever he walked, people used to make room for him. They saw the beauty of his face and the beauty of his ways. And part of his beauty is that he insisted that every person should push themselves. He demanded greatness from all of us, and intellectual greatness. So he would teach us on a very high level, and expected us to go up to him, and he would not come down to us, but he helped us get there. He gave us the steps to get there. And he had this theory that says no one has to compromise. Anyone wants to find inner greatness, I'll show you how. Anyone wants to find true inner beauty, which will harmonize with your external beauty, I'll show you how. That's what he did. So all of you, without realizing it, are all exposed to his students. That's it, one after the other, whether it's Rabbi Tatz or whatever it is, or Rabbi Orlovsky or Rabbi, one after you go back, it just came back from England. All the Rabbi Hirsch and all these people, one after the other, Rabbi Hartman, these are all his students. And everywhere you go, in every corner of the world, are the ones that are working hard to continue his legacy. It doesn't matter how much the world is sunken into darkness, you can find light. So it's a very scary world that we live in. Rabbi Moshe used to say that if someone would give me a pill, if I could go back and be young again, I would throw the pill away and throw the person out of my house, because I would not be able to survive being young in the age of the internet. This is what he said. He said that he used an expression, every 3 months, there's a new generation, which means that you and I don't notice it because we're living in real time. But if you could look back at the last 20, 30 years and see how the world has sunken, in the words of Rabbi Shapiro, how the world has gone from Yefes to Chum, from the, so to speak, the civilized world that European culture represented, or at least the fake civilized world, to a world that has lost sense of civilization. Again, I don't want to sound like a fanatic, but it's hard for us to picture. There's a few of us over here. You remember how when Jimmy Carter appeared in jeans for the first time, the whole world was talking about it. How can a king, the most powerful man in America, appear in public in jeans? That was the 1970s. It was considered that if you were, it was, the kings of Europe and the queens of Europe, they could secretly be the lowliest people. But at least they knew how to act externally like kings and queens. And people had a figurehead, and it was a sense of royalty. And they had a sense of height. And these people came with a castle and the thing and the throne and the ermine robes and so on and so forth. So America had that. America had, they had real malchus. They had, whether you agreed with their politics or their personality in private is none of our business. But these people were people that you looked up at. And they had a sense of dignity. And when you said a blessing in their presence that Hashem gave from his honor to flesh and blood, that blessing made sense. So again, I'm not talking politics. I think this is something that we can all agree on, is that already, for quite a while, it's been lost already. It's been lost already. So if a president of the United States of America appears on Saturday Night Live or appears in a comedy skit, so it's fun. Okay, so he's down with the people. That's very cool. But you're no longer a king. It's no longer called Malchus. It's no longer called that beauty in the thing called the world of Malchus. And this correlates to a whole descent in what was called the beauty of the human being. So, again, I don't want to sound, I don't want to sound, I'm sounding like your dads. I apologize. I'm just going to say it the way it is. I was growing up, so everyone knew that, okay, so you want to dress like a punk, fine. It's okay, but you don't get a tattoo. Tattoo is for the lowliest level of society. Who would want to put something on their body that remains that permanently? So the last 2/3 of their lives, they got this saggy ink on their face. Who would want to do that? So everyone felt a sense of dignity that that the human body had malchus. The human body was something holy about it. Everyone knew that, Jew and non-Jew. But that's it. You know what I mean? Once David Beckham gets it, and whatever, it doesn't matter who it is, every celebrity in the last 15 years, that's it. Today, no one raises eyebrows that the Prime Minister of Canada has a tattoo. What's the big deal? But 20 years ago, you wouldn't have heard of such a thing. So again, I'm sounding like your dad. You go back to America. So I know there's a new fashion out there. Don't ask me how I know about this. I tell you I know, because I work with teenage kids, and I actually did something stupid. I asked a girl why she does this. You actually buy pre-ripped jeans. Now, you're in it, so you can't. You're probably saying, Rabbi, you just don't get it. It's like retro chic. I don't even know how to say this. It's like, it's whatever. It's some kind of like a fashion statement that you just don't get it. But you're right, don't get it. But all I know is, one thing I know for sure is that if you could go back in time and someone could show you what they were wearing, so what were they thinking? What were they thinking? Why would you want to have your clothes ripped? It's like a thing. So it doesn't make a difference. If everyone's doing it, then you go to the store and that's what they're selling. So then you're in. Okay, so you know what? I'll also get ripped clothing. But that's because you've forgotten that society has become ripped. The whole society has lost that sense of dignity in how you look and how you dress. And another thing, again, when I was growing up, so there was a thing called swear words. People swore. But everyone knew that swear was wrong. There was a certain lowliness in the swear. Everyone knew there was a thing called, a non-Jew knew the thing called Kedushas HaPeh. Ronald Reagan would say H-E double toothpicks if he wanted to say something naughty. There was a sense of, every Christian and for sure Muslims, they all knew the thing called Kedushas HaPeh, the sanctity of the mouth. So when I was growing up, I remember, so you wanted to see in England an X-rated movie because they had a swear word. At some point, 2/3 of the movie, the F word would appear. So everyone knew that they had a movie 2 years ago. Some of you know it. I'm not going to say it. It's not a thing. It's a movie. It was a mainstream movie with all top actors and actresses. It broke new records because the F word appeared something like every 40 seconds. Every 40 seconds that word appeared. Basically, it means that after you watch that movie, if you say the F word, it's just because you don't even realize you're saying it. You just become conditioned to it. So today, you can go to a fancy workplace and expect people to let out an expletive here and there, and not ask everyone, not send out written apologies, like they were done 20 years ago. I'm just trying to make a point. You're all thinking, like, oh, you're so annoying. But I want you to be aware that American, British, whatever it is, French society has gone down to Chum. It's Mitzrayim. You're living in Mitzrayim, wherever you are. You've gone down to Chum. It's not Yefes. There's a certain thing, even the music. When I was growing up, in the 70s, so Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin, all the bands that I used to go to, so the lyrics were poetry. These people actually were graduates of Oxford and Cambridge, and they wrote poetry, and people used to actually study them in university. Crazy stuff. Now, these people in their personal lives, I wouldn't let you go near them, but at least there was a certain sense of dignity. You could talk to them on an elevated level. Today, you hear, the top thing, it basically sounds like biology class, where the subject is like, today we're discussing the female anatomy. And there's this. So it's how people talk. So there's nothing left for the imagination. There's no subtlety. That's cool. No longer Yefes. Yefes is beauty. Chum is just heat. That's all that's left. That's all that's left. So now we get to the point, is that it's so easy when you go back home just to say, I give up. And the whole society sucks you in, and to the music and the culture and the movies and the stuff like that. And you're watching with your mom. It's whatever it is, and 9 o'clock in the evening, which is like primetime TV. You can expect stuff that when I was growing up, they would show it at 2 in the morning. And I'm talking about HBO. I don't know what you guys, Game of Thrones, whatever it is. You watch this stuff, which is primetime family viewing. And all this stuff, when I was growing up, would be like, you know what I mean? No, it wouldn't be on TV at all. But it's not because we were backwards. It was just a sense of dignity. It was a sense of malchus, a sense of yofi, a sense of self-worth, of society had values. And I sound like a Christian priest a little bit now. I'm embarrassed. Embarrassed because when I was a teenager, I would have rolled my eyes when somebody would speak that way. But it was that way. When I was growing up, when you used to go to rock concerts, you used to go out, and right next door to the place, there'd be a bookstore open. Right there in the center of town in London, there'd be a bookstore open, and people would go in and read books. It's like a funny thing, crazy world. Okay, let's get to my point. There's a bracha that we need before Mashiach can come. It's called the bracha al HaTzaddikim. And there's 6 categories over here. What do these 6 categories have in common? These are all people that say, I will not let it happen to me. These are 6 groupings of people that say, you know what? The whole world, every couple of months, is hitting a new low in what is acceptable, a new low in what is considered society norms. So that Menachem Nissel talks like I'm doing here in this classroom. If I took in America, they think I'm crazy. If I say to you, I actually believe that men should go to a man's bathroom, and women should go to a women's bathroom, and you will look at me and say, Rabbi Nissel, old school. It's no longer binary, it's a spectrum. You can be whatever you feel. That's what it is. So don't laugh. That's when I go back, I have to follow these rules. And I do. I'm respectful, and that's just the way this thing, because otherwise no one's going to look at me. But what am I thinking? I'm thinking Chum. Yefes to Chum. But then there are groupings that say no. So you have Al HaTzaddikim, Al HaChasidim, Zikni Amcha Beis Yisrael, Pleitus Seifrim, Ger HaTzedek, and Aleinu. If you have a sitter in front of you, it's good to see. There's 6 categories. The 6 people that we shout out. The first is called the Tzaddikim. And the Tzaddikim are the people who are the Yosef HaTzaddiks that surround us here in our society. By the way, they're probably in this room. They're probably in this room. I don't want to embarrass people like Priya, but there are people who inspire me just by their essence, because I know where they come from, and you're right in there in Hollywood, and all the beautiful people and all the glamour, and you say, you know what, I'm going to listen to middle-aged rabbis that sound like these Mormon priests. That's what you're choosing to do. During a lunchtime on a beautiful sunny day where you could be on the beaches and you're listening to me. So these are the inspirations. My Rabbi Rabbi Shapiro, when I used to tell him stories about my NCSY kids, he used to cry when I used to tell him about young men and women that used to walk 5 miles to shul. And then the shul itself would not be a particularly inspiring place. And they'd come home and their parents would make fun of them. I mean, this is what Volbe used to say. These are the Gedolim stories these are the stories of the great people of our generation, these kids, much more than the rabbis. These kids are I told him a story about a young man who wanted to go to yeshiva, NCSY kid, a Yarchikala, and he sat down with me for an hour. And he told me that he's only attracted to his own gender. So I asked him, so what do you want from religion? He says, I want everything. I want to keep Torah, I want to keep mitzvahs. I want to keep everything. I want to be a Torah Jew. I said, so you're going to have to never ever act on your desires. You're going to have to hold yourself back. He says, I understand. If that's what it takes, I'm going to do that. So we sent him to yeshiva. By the way, the people that run this yeshiva are my heroes as well, because most yeshivas would run away from such a young man. They took him in. He got his own room, and none of the kids ever picked up on it, and very few people knew. And he had the most incredible year, and he really is, to this moment now, an inspiration. And I told the story to Rabbi Shapiro. He asked me, what did I say to him? I said to him, you're a hero. He said to me, you said wrong. You should have told me he's a hero. You should have told me, in his merit, Mashiach's going to come. This is the HaTzaddikim that's going to bring Mashiach. That's him. These people are really, really, it defies belief. If you understand the pressures they go through, the insane pressure that you go through, if a person wants to out themselves today, and they put themselves out on social media, you immediately get 1 million people who are supporting you. And if you change your mind, they will become hostile. It's a scary world out there. And he decided, no, I want to keep halacha without compromise. Whatever it takes, I'm going to do. Next category, Allah Hasidim. Who are the Hasidim? So for me, the Hasidim are the people that do acts of charity, from the word chesed. So every girl in this room does an act of charity, but no. Some people are heroes in charity. Some people, you look at them and you say, wow, they are surrounded with people who are self-centric, and they're giving, and they're giving, and they're giving, and they only think about others. For me, when I heard the stories about Rebbetzin Henny Machlis, right? You remember her. So for me, the story that moved me the most was the fact that the cleaning ladies that came in to the Shiva, and they were crying how much they miss her. So, you know what I mean? Everyone does a chesed here, chesed there. When you think about the cleaning ladies that come in, the Romanian cleaning ladies. Who told me she was from Romania? Where are you? Was it you? There we go. Okay, the Romanian cleaning lady, come in. So you say hello, you give them a piece of cake, and that's it. You carry on with your own thing. Well, not if you're a Henny Machlis type of person. And it's just that. There are people all over, and every single one of you, where you come from. You go to Philadelphia, I don't know who's there. But there's some woman, as we speak, who's doing some kind of an organization or thing, or helping out people who are sick, or people that need special help, or raising money for people. This is what's going on over here. These are the Hasidim, the people that do chesed. They inspire everyone else. In a world that is self-centered, and it's all about me and what can I get out of it, all they're doing is thinking about others. Next category. HaTzaddikim ziknei amcha beis Yisrael. So this can't be talking about Jewish leadership, because we already had that with the Shoftim. So for me, ziknei amcha beis Yisrael are the people who are builders. The builders of institutions. So I don't know if you know this, but somebody built this. The name was Rabbi Refson. So Rabbi Refson is my hero. And there's a few people like him who saw a need, whatever it was, 30 years ago. How long ago was it ago? 30 years ago. And he saw a need, and you have no idea. Every single thing that he did came through sweat, blood, and tears, and making enemies, because it's almost impossible to do something without going on other people's toes. So these people are the real heroes out there. They see a need, and they go out and they do it. And they build synagogues, and they build schools, and they build kiruv organizations, and they build charity organizations, and they build whatever it may be, and they do something because they see the need, and they do it. And these people, their lives are insane, and their wives are insane, and their kids have to follow things because this is it. They're these people that it revolves around what they do. Next category, Platos Sophraim, the remnants of their scribes. Who are the remnants of their scribes? That's me, everyone. Yay, gotta go play. These are the teachers. So I know I'm kind of a bad example because I live the glamorous life, traveling and having fun. But I'm just telling you, if you see a teacher, assume that he's not covering his bills. Assume that every teacher here in this institution it doesn't have money to marry off their kids. Well, how much money can a person raise, for goodness sake? Always perennially in debt. Everyone here is in poverty. Everyone here is struggling. It's worse in America. It's worse back home. The teachers, why do they do it? Because they're in love with what they do. Because they believe that when they can see that they can partake, give information to someone, and build that person with that information, then it makes it worthwhile. When they see that satisfaction when the person has understood what you've taught them. So for that, they're prepared to give up with their wives and their kids and live, that's it. Lower middle class at best. But that's it. They're not they're not going out for dinner, and they're not going on vacation because they can't have the money. But and you think it's easy? You're struggling, you're pushing. That's the life that you live. So that is Platos Sophraim. Those are the teachers, the Rabbis, the educators. Then finally you have a thing called Ger HaTzaddik. So I didn't even know, but I'm assuming that they're here in this room. And Ger HaTzaddik are the most awesome people of all, because they had it all. Seriously. They were once not Jewish, and they had the option of becoming football players and cheerleaders. And it's so much fun living in the Midwest and living a life that's just glamorous and fun, where you can whatever it is, you go to Sunday morning, you can go to church if you want, but then you do what you want. And they say, no, I'm going to go like Ruth the Moabite, or as the rabbis say, the people that lived on the boat with Yonah, they all converted, and they all had that moment of clarity. And these people inspire us because they chose to join us, because they say, I see truth here. And anyone that gets close to Gerim, they are the most inspirational people over. We had someone over here in this building recently. She's not here, and it could be some of you can figure out how I'm saying. And there was a institution here in Jerusalem that makes movies, motivational movies. And they said, you know what I'm going to do? We're going to make a movie about the conversion of this young lady. They were going to take 6 converts and follow their journey of conversion. I don't know, make an interesting documentary. So they asked her, would you like to be one of our candidates? They kind of put pressure on her. And she came up to me and asked me for my opinion. So I have to be careful now, because I don't know, people always dream about being in a movie. It's a glamorous thing. You think people are watching you. It's just whatever. Movie stars are put on a pedestal. No reason why. They have skills, acting skills. You also have skills. But for some reason, our society says if you're an actor or an actress, then you're it. At the moment now, who is the most beloved female in Israel? Anybody know? How did you know? Just read this article about it just recently. Okay, Wonder Woman. So that's it. That's it. So that's it. All is this imagination. It's just pixels in the mind. There's nothing real about it. But everyone wants to be like that. Every Israeli girl now says, oh, I wish I could be the next Wonder Woman. I actually am married to Wonder Woman. That's my little secret. Okay, was it the real Wonder Woman? I'm talking about, I have no idea how she does what she does, but that's it. That's for a different discussion. The point is that it's awesome that this girl came up to me and she asked me, should I do this movie? I said, what do you think? She said, they're teaching me about modesty. If I want to become Jewish, I have to become modest. I understand modest is not covering yourself up. Modest is a mindset. My life is private. How does this fit in with modesty? I said, oh my gosh, you're not even Jewish yet, and you get it. You really get it. I was like in awe. I was so inspired by her. She got it. She told them no. They put pressure on her. She told them no. She says, it's not what I want. It's not what I'm looking for. Finally, we have the Aleinu. The Aleinu is everyone else in this room. Everyone else in this room that's not covered. Because the very fact that you're sitting here makes you part of the Aleinu. Aleinu means that you don't know yet which category you fit in, but one thing you do know, I'm not going to be that statistic that get sucked into the world of Chum. I'm not going to allow myself to become a lowly person. I'm not going to fall in. I'm not going to let, like I said before, inappropriate words come out of my mouth, or just be part of that whole society that's lowly. I'm not going to let it happen to me. I don't know which category I'm in, but I know that that's not what I want. I want to be something that inspires. I want to be the person that's on a pedestal, that people look up and say, how beautiful it is to be a Jewish woman. So now I've run out of time. Let me summarize the second half of the blessing. The second half of this blessing has got a theme, which is the following. It says, Yehemu rachamecha, Hashem lekeinu, v'sein sacha tov l'chol haboitchem shimcha v'emes, v'simcha keinu mehem, v'lo nevoish kivucha v'tachnu. What does that mean? It basically means the following thing. We're asking Hashem to give them rewards. Well, everyone gets rewards in the world to come. No. We ask Hashem, give them rewards here in this world so that we can see that these people are appreciated. Now, none of these people are doing it because they want to be appreciated. Revson does not need you to applaud him. All these people do not need, Henny Machlis did not ask for anyone to applaud her. They don't need this. But the point, we need it. We need to see that these people that put the step out, making a Kiddush Hashem, that they're appreciated. How beautiful is it that Yosef HaTzaddik was the only person ever called Ish Matzliach. Ish Matzliach, he had the magic touch. Everyone saw that Hashem was with him. Hashem was imprinted on him. He was a walking Kiddush Hashem. The other one who was famous was you ever think about the scene of Mordechai on the horse going through the streets of Shushan? And everyone was cheering him on. And he was the arch enemy of Haman. And look at the honor that he was getting. What do you think that Mordechai was thinking at that time then? You think he enjoyed it? Everyone applauding him? That was his personality? He probably thinks I look ridiculous in this clothes. And I can prove it to you. Because in every picture, Achashverosh is always overweight. And Mordechai is always thin and tall. Think about your coloring books. So now he's wearing Achashverosh's clothes. He must have looked like insane. It's a joke, by the way. I was just saying it's a joke. You're looking at me like, it's just a joke. Hello? Okay. Lighten up. Okay, so now, thank you, Binyamin, for laughing. No, you think, Mordechai wearing Achashverosh's... Okay, fine. The point I'm trying to make is that we need to see their successes because it's so hard to be a Torah Jew and to be realistic in such a world that we live in. We need Hashem, the Mishon or Miftach HaTzaddikim, who goes out of his way to be the support system. Mishon is in good times, Miftach is in hard times. We want to be able to see that these people are appreciated, that we need it, because we need to remind ourselves that there's something out there called the Torah world and the Torah lifestyle that's real and beautiful and something that we want to emulate and not just get sucked into the world around us. Then we're ready for the next bracha, which is the bracha of Mashiach and Yerushalayim Yericha. When we have stood up against everything, then we can go out and we can bring Mashiach in. I want to say to everyone in this room, so again, you are my heroes. I know most of you had choices. None of you had to be sitting here. For sure you didn't have to come to Neve, and for sure you didn't have to come and sit in my class. But you chose to, because you know what's going on out there, and you're saying, you know what, I don't want to just be a statistic. I don't want to be just slip in like everybody else. And you know what it's like. You've been to a concert prayer, so that's it. Are these people, you can sit there with your phones going like this and stuff like that, and then with thousands of other people, and you say, how beautiful is this? Well, these people are playing 3 chords. That's all they can do. And that's it. And talking about stuff that's basically 7th grade poetry. Yeah, but we're better than that. We can do more than that. We can aspire to something special. And through that, we should be Zeicha to Yerushalayim and Mashiach Tzidkenu. We should all see this speedily in our days. Thank you so much for listening.